as a previous player and a pundit, whatever capacity, what do you make of Villa this season?
I think they're the best team I've seen. I think I look at my team under Martin O'Neill, I look at this team and I'll say they're definitely better. I love the way they're managed and coached, they're organised. They've got some exciting young players that are coming through, you know, Morgan Rogers, who signed for Middlesbrough. I love Jacob Ramsey. I think you've got one of the best English strikers in Ollie Watkins as well. And all round now, you've got a squad of players that everyone's fighting for places, but everyone's getting game time as well. So many games now, the rotation that he's doing with the team as well. And I think any time I speak to a Villa fan, they're happy. You know, they go into Villa Park and they're being entertained. The ownership's in a good place as well. Maybe ticket prices are a bit high, but I'm sure Villa fans are happy where the club are at the moment.
Villa fans, are you happy? Yeah, it seems to be in a good spot.
They should be happy as well. They've got some really good players, particularly the goalkeeper, Martinez. Absolutely, I mean, World Cup winner. I mean, I'm not quite sure what he did with the trophy at the World Cup. I don't know if you saw that, Gabby.
No,
It seemed like footballish behaviour to me. But what's it like when you were playing there? You were sort of the main man. Is that a good feeling as a player when you walk in and you look around and you go, oh, it's me, it's all on me this week?
I think there was a lot of top players. I mean, like Gareth Barry, outstanding player. Ashley Young, Stadium Petrov. You had Olaf Malberg in 2006. So you had a lot of big personalities. Yeah. You know, especially like Brad Friedel was in there. But when you look at this team now, you look at Martinez, the way the saves that he makes.
He's
you know,
brilliant,
he can be a tight game. He can be the difference over the last few years of getting a result. And there's big personalities all across the team. John McGinn, I mean, he's a fan favourite. Tielemans this season has probably been player of the season. We're in a good place, Aston Villa, and I think now the manager is going to want this team in Europe every year. It might not be Champions League every year, but at least playing in Europe year after year.
Do strikers and goalkeepers train together? Would you have trained with Bradford, or is it like a dog and a squirrel? You're not allowed to be in the same place at the same time.
It was different back then because keepers couldn't kick the ball. So like keepers had their own goalkeeping coach. You know, they couldn't pass the ball, so they wouldn't join in. But I think it's different now where they want the goalkeepers to be good with their feet, so they'll join in with the first team. And then after the training is finished, we do some shooting. And if you ever dink the goalkeeper, Brad Guzan used to chase us. So it's the biggest insult for a keeper, being dinked in training, because they're doing you a favour by staying afterwards and doing shooting. So the amount of times the boys will dink Brad Friedel, he just walk straight in. He'd take his gloves off. Well, I'm not doing this for you lot. Like,
it's over. Yeah. Charlie, how are you?
Very, very good. Love Villa. Huge club. Huge, proper football club in the best bit of Birmingham, the road out. So it's...
careful.
No, I've already got one boo. Good, I'm doing my job, Becky. Doing my job.
Doing well. I'm so glad you sat up here with us. But Gabby, let's start with you, because let's start with your Villa career. In the academy, signed, turned professional. You spent, some 13 years at Aston Villa. Scored on your Premier League debut at 19 years old. I mean, all these things. Club legend. Club legend. Club legend. If we start with that Aston Villa debut, what do you remember about it?
I remember that I'd just come back from a loan spell where I was pretty awful. I was playing in the reserves at Sheffield Wednesday, but there were injuries and illnesses. And remember David O'Leary just come in the day before saying, you're going to start. I was like, oh, okay, thanks. And I remember the game, we played Everton. Everton were a very good side there. We struggled in the game. But I remember just having a chance. Lee Hendry put me through, and I just shot across the goal. And I think it was Richard Wright in goal. He should really have saved it. And I had the worst game. I mean, I was like a little boy in a man's game. I was getting bullied by the centre halves. Quite a physical game, but I just remember scoring. And because I scored, the manager had to keep me around for the next game. Then I stayed and then played a couple more games. Then the manager left, and then Martin O'Neill come in the summer, and then he loved me from day one.
And then no one could get rid of you?
No, I was like his child, so no matter how I played, I'll play. Yeah.
What was that relationship like? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was like he had his favourites, Martin. Like I was one of them, Martin Larson, Ashley Young. So even when I was having games that maybe I went for a run and not scoring, he'd always have trust in me to get back to scoring, get back to form. So he sort of give you that extra chance where maybe other players that were not in great form at times would be out of the side. either Marlon Harewood would come on and score in some games, and I'd start the next game. Because it's like a father-son sort of relationship, so he stuck by me for all the time he was there.
So if you were a favourite, you know what's coming, don't you? Who wasn't a favourite, and how did that make those players feel?
You know what? He wasn't fond of fullbacks. I don't know what was wrong with him, honestly, and goalkeepers, but he always had a thing for fullbacks. The fullbacks at the time, if it was Luke Young, Stephen Warnock, if they ever let a cross come in, like they were getting it. He was obsessed with stopping a cross, and so fullbacks were definitely not the favourites under Martin O'Neill.
Well, you made your international debut in 2008, Charlie. Have you got something you'd like to say about that?
You made your debut under Fabio Capello. 3 caps you got, Gabby, I think. Under Fabio Capello, you played under a foreign manager whose English was worse, yours or his.
Yeah, mine.
But also, the current England crop of players playing under Thomas Tuchel. Did it make any difference at all to you?
No, it was just different under Fabio Capello. I remember my first squad. I come into the canteen and I was wearing like sort of flip-flops because you rest your feet after a game. And he looked at me and says, "I'm on the hook, up, trainers." And I was like, "What's going on here?" He was like, "Yeah, go and get your trainers on." All the boys were laughing at me, didn't tell me. They knew what was going to happen. I come down like a little kid with my trainers on. He's like, "Okay, now you can eat." So it was very like headmaster vibe, but that was maybe the Italian way.
That was the famous Italian way, no flip-flops.
Yes.
Why they're so good at defending and fouling.
You played, and well, speaking of fouling, you played in a really tough Premier League era. Who was the toughest defender you came up against?
Ooh, he'll have to be out of... John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Vincent Kompany. Ledley King was very good as well. But out of all of them, I'd have to say Rio Ferdinand. He was just so like aggressive. If he tried to make the runs in behind, he was just as quick as you. And sometimes Rio Ferdinand will get there and then he'd do a step over and take you on, and you're running the opposite way. And you're thinking, I'm meant to be taking you on, Rio. I'm running back to my own goal and defending against Rio. That's how good he was. But also Kompany, John Terry, Ledley King.
So you knew every match week you were coming up against somebody.
Yeah, and they were just aggressive as well. I remember Vincent Kompany. You'd go for a header and he'd be like roaring at you as you're jumping up, and then head the back of your head, elbows in the back of the head as well. So very physical back then. You couldn't get away with some of the defending that they've done now.
And look, now you are a pundit, presenter. You do all sorts now, don't you? Across a wide range of TV and radio.
Do you know what? I love it though.
Yeah.
You know, just to stay in the game after you retire. There's so many players that retire and it's hard to figure out what to do. So to be able to do some radio and, you know, wind up some opposition fans. Newcastle, Leeds, Man United. It's nice to Wolverhampton, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
so
do you
it's
have
nice.
a hit list?
Yeah, I'll do sometimes. But it's nice to have a bit of fun and such a great amount of people to work with as well in the media.